What's going on, folks? This is Coach Marcus, Pro Fan Talk, and I want to talk about something as it pertains to people just laying out stats without context. Everybody's getting ready for the game. Everybody's throwing up stats. Who's played well against what coach? How many times Patrick Mahomes has won in the dome? Chiefs versus Fangio, Mahomes versus Fangio, all of that type of stuff. I was listening to one of my favorite people, Ray Didinger, and he mentions the same thing. And you got to look at these stats, but you got to have context. Let's listen to what Ray Didinger says, and then I'll respond with the context. He's not wrong, by the way, but you got to add a little bit more context to understand where these numbers come from. So let's check this out.
The other trend is the fact that, Mahomes has had great success against Vic Fangio. That he's never lost to a Vic Fangio defense. And then there's the fact that Mahomes has never lost in a dome. So these things, you put these things out there, and you have to consider them. But then you have to look at the bigger picture and just say, come on, let's just get down to the guys who are playing in this game and how they're going to match up.
So, first of all, Mahomes has never lost to a Vic Fangio defense. That is true. Vic Fangio is 0-8 versus Patrick Mahomes. Numbers don't lie, but they do deceive. So let's add a little context to that. Now, the offenses on the teams where Vic Fangio was the coach, right? So let's just say out of all of those 8 losses, the offenses on those teams averaged 11.8 points per game. 11. So you're not even in the teens. 11.8, less than 12 points per game. So every team that he was coaching, he had no offense, right? They lost. Here's what the offense has scored every time that Vic Fangio has faced Patrick Mahomes. 6 points, 3 points, 16 points, another 16 points, 9 points, 24 points, 14 points, 7 points. 11.8 yards per game. In all of those games, the offense gave up 6 defensive touchdowns, 36 points. So what you have is somebody that was coaching defenses that had no offense, little to no offense, or at least not an effective one in any case. So you got to take that into context. That's like having a really good defensive team, but your offense simply cannot score, or definitely not score enough to beat anybody. So you got to look at the whole picture, and so many people don't do that. And by the way, I didn't pull those numbers out of the air. Looking up stats, listening to Greg Cosell, you can get the information. So you got to take everything into consideration. Now, what he said at the end, you just got to get rid of the bullshit and look at the matchups. How do the matchups look? And based on what I've studied, the matchups that you want to pay most attention to is, for us on offense, Landon Dickerson versus whoever is lined up over. Cam Jurgens versus whoever is lined up over him. So our center and our guard are the 2 question marks because they are hurt. And they've had 2 weeks. Cam Jurgens has had 2 weeks to get his back together. Landon Dickerson has had 2 weeks to get his knee together. And it looks like they're going to play without no restrictions. That's what it looks like today. Now, the flip side of that is you look at Kansas City and their offensive line. They got issues as well. Caliendo at left guard. Tooney is at left tackle. Tooney is not a natural tackle. That is not his normal position. And since he's been playing there, he's been holding his own, but he has let some pressures in. Caliendo has been a turnstile. that is a situation where we can definitely take advantage of. But we'll see when we play the game. So those are the matchups that I'm looking at. Has the Kansas City secondary come across a wide receiver duo or trio like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert? Have they come across a group that good during the season? So these are the matchups that I'm looking at. So yes, he's 0-8. Yes, Vic Fangio was 0-8 for Mahomes. But has Vic Fangio ever had a defense this good? And has Vic Fangio ever had an offense with this many playmakers on it? Not to mention the most valuable offensive player of the year in Saquon Barkley. Those are the questions you should be asking. And when you look at the matchups and what the Eagles have been able to do this year, we've passed every test. Every tough team we've come against, we've handled our business. I do not think this week will be any different. Go Birds.